in Sachs and Associates.
Now at 5, we learned the cost of last year's data breach in Joplin.
She would be the first black woman named to the country's highest court. I'm Deborah Alfarone on Capitol Hill with day one of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's Supreme Court confirmation hearing.
And helping teens deal with mental health struggles.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
8 months after the city of Joplin suffered a data breach, we're learning the cost of that breach. This is KOAM News at 5. In July of 2021, the city says someone gained access to the city's systems, disrupting phones, computers, and online applications. In addition to certain employee health plan files, some customer data was also impacted by the data breach. KOAM has obtained a document now detailing the cost of that breach. The city of Joplin paid a ransom for the files the hackers managed to take from the city. The majority of that cost is covered by insurance. A total of 4 firms were paid for services related to what the city calls a network security incident. The total cost of that breach, more than $635,000. Tonight at 6, we're going to break down the total cost of that breach. A public meeting tomorrow is to give McDonald County, Missouri voters information about a proposed $21 million school bond. The proposal on the April 5th ballot would fund the construction of 6 storm shelters at various schools in the district and a remodel of some school areas, including classrooms and a nurse's station. The bond would maintain the current mill levy so taxes would not increase.
One, they're going to provide a safe place for the students to go in case of an emergency. They're going to provide a safe place for the staff to go in case of an emergency out here. And then thirdly, they're going to provide a safe place for community members to go because these will be open to the public.
The public meeting on the proposal will be at 6:30 tomorrow evening at the McDonald County High School Performing Arts Center. Also in McDonald County, some students are raising some green by going green. Students at Rocky Comfort Elementary are planting more than 10,000 plants in their greenhouse. Once the plants have grown, they'll be sold as part of the school's annual plant sale, with that money going towards school improvement projects. We're going to hear from the ag teacher tonight at 6. Right now it is rainy across the 4 states. Let's check in with Doug Eddy.
Yeah, we've had bands of showers, thunderstorms, some heavy amounts of rain across the region over the past several hours. Thankfully, we're not dealing with anything too strong or severe, but we are dealing with just some good old thunderstorms that are going to continue the rest of the evening and into a good chunk of the overnight hours tonight. Now, on the radar where you see the yellows, the oranges, and a little bit of red, that's the heavier amounts of rain, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning across the region. Heaviest right now on the Missouri side, tapering off a little bit in Kansas and also Oklahoma, but we're just going to have periods of thunderstorms throughout the evening. Here, 7 p.m., let's continue to go through the evening hours, 9:30 p.m., still showers, still thunderstorms. Finally, after midnight, we'll start to taper this off just a bit, but this system lasts 3 days, so I'll break it down for you here in a bit.
See you then. A historic first day of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson wrapped up after more than 4 hours of opening statements. If confirmed, Judge Jackson would become the first black woman on the high court, and she would replace retiring Justice Stephen Breyer, for whom she once clerked. Deborah Alfarone has more from Capitol Hill.
As Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson reintroduced herself to the country. Her family sat behind her with tears and smiles.
My parents taught me that unlike the many barriers that they had had to face growing up, my path was clearer, so that if I worked hard and I believed in myself in America, I could do anything or be anything I wanted to be.
You're the first black woman, and it's long past time.
Earlier, all 22 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee delivered opening remarks, delving into topics that will likely dominate the next 2 days of questioning.
I'm a bit troubled by some of the positions you've taken and arguments that you've made, representing people who have committed terrorist acts against the United States.
The court is considering a woman's fundamental right to control her own body.
United States versus Hawkins. This was a child pornography case. Prosecutors recommended 24 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 3 months in prison.
Judge Jackson currently sits on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. She's also been a district judge, a public defender, and served on the U.S. Sentencing Commission.
If I am confirmed, I commit to you that I will work productively to support and defend the Constitution.
Outside, black law students cheered Judge Jackson on. For them, her nomination is personal.
It just means that I can achieve any goal that I want to achieve.
Democrats hope to wrap up the confirmation process early next month. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
At the beginning of today's hearing, the committee's chairman voiced well wishes for U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who was hospitalized Friday for an infection. Justice Thomas is the second black man to serve on the High Court. Justice Thurgood Marshall was the first. Ukraine is refusing to surrender the hard-hit city of Mariupol. Russia offered to let civilians escape if Ukraine would let it take over the city. Ukraine's government said no. President Biden travels to Belgium this week for a high-stakes meeting with American allies. He'll also go to Poland, which has taken more than 2 million refugees from Ukraine. Altogether, Russia's invasion has displaced an estimated 10 million Ukrainians. An emergency search and rescue operation is in full swing after a plane carrying 132 people crashed into a mountainous area in South China. Investigators say the plane was flying at around 30,000 feet when it suddenly went into a deep dive this afternoon. It appears to be China's worst aviation disaster in a decade. Just ahead, helping young people overcome mental health struggles.
Is this the farm of the future? I'm Laura Podesta with how vertical farming could change the way we eat.
Plus, new research on the use of medical marijuana to treat depression and anxiety. Those stories in Healthwatch. Topping today's Healthwatch, a new study casts some doubt on the use of medical marijuana in the treatment of anxiety and depression. The Harvard medical study divided adult patients into two groups. One group got a medical marijuana card to treat their pain, anxiety, or depression immediately. The other had to wait 12 weeks. Turned out the patients who got earlier access were 20% more likely to develop marijuana use disorder. That means they became dependent on marijuana without showing improvement in their pain, anxiety, or depressive symptoms. However, patients did report improvement in insomnia and having a feeling of greater well-being overall. Harvard researchers say their study shows patients on medical marijuana need closer supervision to have better outcomes. Estimates show that 1 in 5 adolescents and teens have a diagnosed mental health disorder, and the pandemic has caused that number to jump even higher. Bradley Blackburn has the story of a Virginia teen who got help for her depression and is now working to help others.
Aliana Carr is a standout high school student, excelling in and out of class.
I have a 4.1 GPA.
Her days are packed with extracurriculars and homework, but last fall she says she felt the pressure building from the pandemic and from being one of the only black girls in her school.
I had feelings of worthlessness and just extreme tiredness. I really didn't have any focus in school, and I just had overall feelings of depression and sometimes even suicidal thoughts.
It's something many teens are struggling with. More than a quarter of parents in a new survey say their adolescent has seen a mental health specialist, nearly 60% within the past year.
Some of the signs that these families or these parents spoke about were ones that really all parents should be aware of. And that includes excessive worry or anxiety, decreased interactions with family or friends, increased moodiness, drop in grades, a change in sleep or eating patterns.
Dr. Gary Freed is co-director of the poll, which also finds many parents encountered barriers, including long waits for appointments and finding a provider who takes their insurance.
These difficulties really highlight the strain of our current mental health system.
Aliana learned about the symptoms of depression online and reached out to a trusted teacher and her mom.
You found that therapy made a big difference.
It did. I applied the techniques that my therapist gave me, like breathing techniques to calm me down because I also suffer from anxiety.
Aliana and a friend started an organization called SAGE that provides mental health resources in schools for Black girls. She's also lobbying local lawmakers for change. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Less than half the parents surveyed said their child's primary care provider asked about mental health at all checkups. Researchers say parents should speak up at those visits if they have any concerns. Motion Nutrition, a maker of sleep supplements, surveyed 2,000 people about their sleeping habits, finding only 1 in 10 people get good sleep. Functional nutritionists advise the following: expose yourself to morning sunlight to raise cortisol levels. Don't hunch over the computer, sit up straight. Make sure breakfast has proteins, not all carbs. And watch out for overstressing cardio workouts as well as too much caffeine stimulation from coffee. Protein, found in a common enemy of humans and animals, could become part of chronic pain, itch, and relief treatments. Researchers in England say a protein in the saliva of the brown ear tick could prevent histamines in the body from activating, resulting in reducing chronic pain and itching responses. Possible uses could be for back issues, arthritis, psoriasis, and other conditions. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, an alternative to traditional farming.
Heavy amounts of rain, showers, and thunderstorms. Stick around tonight. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, we had a fantastic weekend. Temps into the 60s on Saturday, 70s yesterday, just about perfect. And then we roll into Monday, showers, thunderstorms, which of course we need this time of the year. It helps the grass grow and everything else across the region. And it looks like as we go through the rest of the evening into the overnight hours, some pretty heavy amounts of rain. Most of this rolled in late morning into the early afternoon. Now where you see the yellows, oranges, and reds, that's showing us moderate to heavy amounts of rain. A lot of thunder and a lot of lightning, but the good news here is nothing too strong, nothing severe. That's always great news, especially in the spring months, but we are going to get some pretty good rainfall amounts. And you can see the heaviest on the Missouri side, where you're picking up some oranges, a lot of yellows, a little bit of red down through northeastern parts of Oklahoma. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Pretty good batch. Fredonia, Neodesha, Yates Center over toward Iola. A little lighter once you get near Chanute. We can go east. Fort Scott, Nevada, Girard, Pittsburgh, Lamar, all heavy amounts of rain over towards Stockton Lake, Mount Vernon, Monette, heavy amounts of rain continuing south through southwestern parts of Missouri. So here's Neosho, Pineville, Anderson. Let's work our way west into Oklahoma. So here's Grand Lake up through Ottawa County, some pretty good showers and thunderstorms all the way back through Craig and Nowata counties as well. And this extends farther south. Now, any severe weather mainly staying south of Oklahoma City down through Texas, where there is a pretty good tornado threat. But you can see this little back edge right here, southwestern parts of Oklahoma. That's the back edge of the rain. So from that point, it has to go all the way through here before we start to see the rain tapering off, which is going to take some time. And this is a slow-moving storm system. This is a 3-day storm. Storms today, chances for storms tomorrow. Rain, snow mix on Wednesday. It's wet out there right now. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, showers, thunderstorms across the region. Temperatures chilly. Most of us have been sitting into lower 50s throughout the day. It's been windy. We've had these southerly winds kicking in at about 10 to 20 and some gusts a little bit higher than that at times. 7th and Range Line, of course. It is wet across the region. 51 thunderstorms. Humidity is up there, 86%. Through the evening hours, we kind of hold steady into the lower 50s. And that's where we're really going to sit as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Heaviest rains all prior to midnight. After midnight, we get into what is called the dry slot of the system, a little dry punch of air. So the rain cuts off into tomorrow morning. And then as we go into tomorrow late morning, we get a dry line that heads toward us. And you can start to see some showers and a few thunderstorms trying to pop up. This is mainly going to be on the Missouri side. But any that get going, some of those could be a little stronger or maybe even low-grade severe. So we'll keep our eyes on that. I'm not really overly concerned about it, but still something we want to watch. Look at the rainfall amounts. A lot of areas on top of what we've already gotten, an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain. 64 tomorrow, Isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon. Little rain snow mix on Wednesday. Don't worry about it, just a few flakes mixed in. And then we clear out and look pretty good toward the weekend.
Yeah, considerable amount of precipitation already, and as you say, more on the way.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, bringing the farm indoors. First, though, we honor a local World War II veteran. Evelyn Smith served in the Women's Army Corps. She's from Boone County, Missouri, and we are proud to salute Evelyn Smith, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, there's some encouraging news for millions of Americans concerned about their unpaid medical bills. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion announced they're removing nearly 70% of medical debt from consumer credit reports. The three large credit reporting agencies are responding to the financial crisis caused by millions of Americans hospitalized during the pandemic. Now, starting July 1st, paid medical collection debt will no longer be included on consumer credit reports, and more changes are expected. More Americans are choosing to freelance instead of maintaining the traditional 9-to-5 job. According to Upwork, 59 million Americans freelanced last year. A growing number of people with specialized skills are opting for contract work. Booking sites are indicating a travel boom ahead. Kayak and Hopper are among the sites seeing a rise in volume for spring and summer travel. Comes as COVID restrictions ease across our country. Any given year, farmers face many challenges from drought to storms that destroy crops. Well, now some farms are moving indoors and going high-tech. Reporter Laura Podesta takes us on a tour.
I suited up in a hairnet and lab coat, then wrapped up my feet. Perfect. To step into a futuristic farm.
So this was the first farm ever built by Bowery.
Bowery farming executive Katie Sewell showed us this indoor vertical farm in Kearney, New Jersey, where greens grow in special trays stacked floor to ceiling. LED lighting replaces the sun. The process uses 95% less water than traditional farming, and there's no threat of bad weather or bugs.
We are able to grow pesticide-free produce 365 days a year.
The company places these facilities close to urban areas. This one is just 10 miles from New York City.
We are able to harvest and get our product on shelf in your local grocery store in 72 hours.
Bowery is not alone. Several companies are starting similar farms around the world. BIS Research predicts the global industry will grow from $5.5 billion to nearly $20 billion in 2026.
Do you see any drawback to these indoor farms?
The main drawback that I can see with indoor farms is they do use a lot of energy.
Professor Neil Mattson studies agriculture at Cornell University and says all that power can be a big fossil fuel drain.
If they're not tied to renewable energy, their carbon footprint is higher than growing in a field.
Bowery says the power for this building comes from renewable hydroelectricity. The company grows herbs and leafy greens for harvest at the height of freshness. And strawberries are now starting to hit the market.
Wow.
And other fruits and vegetables could eventually move inside, expanding the produce of this unique farming process. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Kearney, New Jersey.
Bowery products are sold at grocery stores in select markets and can be ordered online. Prices are often higher than greens grown on a traditional farm. A final check of the forecast is next. Care. Up next on the CBS Evening News, the historic change coming to your pockets. The story of who will be one of the first women featured on the Quarter. Then on KOAM News at 6, a further breakdown of the cost of last year's data breach in Joplin. Plus, how a business is helping show support for the Bonne Terre, Missouri Police Department following the shootings of 2 officers there last week. And the Carthage Chamber of Commerce today announces the theme of this year's Maple Leaf Festival. Hope you'll stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then, of course, KOAM News tonight at 6. It's been raining and pretty hard in some places, Doug.
It definitely has been. Showers, thunderstorms continue as we go through the rest of the evening hours. They are going to taper off a bit after midnight, then we get a break. We'll get some pop-up thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, and then just kind of light rain settles in tomorrow night into Wednesday. Wednesday, very similar to what we had 3 days ago on Friday when it was cold and nasty and kind of misty out there. So we get another one of those days.
Oh, well, it was a nice weekend.
It was. It was fantastic.
Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.